Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Samuel. I'll be your host today for our monthly FarmCloud webinar. Let's give the rest up to the 10 so that we can kickstart the webinar when everyone is ready. So kindly just let's give them 2 minutes so that we can kickstart the webinar and get ready. In the meantime, you can, if you have a question, let me know so that I can be able to focus on the features that you need more clarification on, and anything else that you need more focus on and you want me to concentrate on. I'll be happy to help. Thank you. Okay, so all right, everyone. Kindly confirm if you can hear my voice. I want to know if I'm audible enough. Give me a thumbs up so that we can proceed, or let me know if you can hear me or if you can't hear me. Kindly. All right, okay. Okay, so let's proceed. Uh, I'll give Stacy a moment so that she can introduce herself, and after she introduces herself, then we will continue. Michael, we had given the other attendees some few minutes for them to join, so that now we can proceed together. I can see that most of us have joined the webinar, so we can proceed. So I'll give Stacy a few minutes, then we can proceed afterwards. So Stacy.
So good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're well. My apologies for joining late. So I'll be using Titan's account today, but no need to worry. We'll still proceed with the webinar. So I'll take you through the first bit, which is the adding the structures, also adding plant information, and we can also partly do the daily work reports. So if there's any questions from anyone, please feel free to let us know. We'll be happy to join. Yes, so I think Sam, you can proceed with sharing your screen, please.
Kindly confirm if you can see my screen. Give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Okay.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So as you can see, as presented, we have the summary page on FarmCloud. And on the summary page, you can see the weather forecast. You also have the total number of employees in the platform, the crops in production, the yield you've gotten so far. And beneath the yield, we have the financial summary, and we also have the structures that you have. So I think from there, we can begin with the first step, which is farm assets. Okay, so under farm asset, we head to farm element, where this is the section whereby we will indicate the type of structure that you have in the farm. So if it's a greenhouse, a shed net, an open field, depending on what you have in the farm, that is what you'll add. So I think we can do a greenhouse. Let's add a greenhouse. Okay. Okay, so we can give the greenhouse name. We can name it greenhouse A. So you either choose if the greenhouse is metallic or wooden, and you also include the size of the greenhouse. Okay, so you can go with the 100 square meters, and then we add. Okay, so after you've added the greenhouse, the next step is to add the plant information. So you can tap on the greenhouse name, and it will give you the option to add a plant. Okay, so you select the plant that you're currently growing. After selecting the plant, the next step is usually selecting the specific variety. Okay, so after selecting the variety, you have to include the quantity of seeds or seedlings that you used on your planting process. And then after that, you include the planting date. So if by any chance you had started planting prior to you knowing FarmCloud, you can backtrack the date. There's the option to backtrack it, and then yes, and then projected harvest. And then you add. Okay, so after adding the plant information, so the system will know that we have this specific greenhouse, that we're growing this specific crop, and this is the specific variety that we're growing in that platform. So after farm element, the next thing is usually inventory keeping. And inventory keeping is usually under fertilizers and agrochemical. Just for you to keep track of the stock of farm inputs that you have in your farm. So we can do one for fertilizer. So normally in this case, fertilizers and agrochemicals are more like the same thing. So the same thing we'll do for fertilizers, the exact same thing we'll do for agrochemical. So we'll tap on other fertilizers. Okay, so you'll select the fertilizer name. After you've selected the specific fertilizer, you'll select supplier. So if there's no specific supplier indicated there, you can go with other or the specific one as indicated. And then you head over to quantity. What was the quantity of fertilizer you had bought? We can go with 100 kgs. And then on the section minimum quantity alert is just to help you gauge yourself so that you don't run out of fertilizer. So we can go with 5 as the minimum quantity alert. And then after minimum quantity alert, you have to include the cost you incurred to purchase the fertilizer. So we can go with 5,000 shillings, and then we add. So for every fertilizer that you'll buy, you'll have to do the inventory in this section. So for this, the exact same thing we've done for fertilizer is the exact same thing we'll do for agrochemicals. The report looks exactly the same. Okay, so after adding the structure indicating the stock of farm inputs you have, allow me to skip products and services. Let's head over to daily work reports, and then we'll cover products and services after daily work reports. Okay, so under daily work report, this is all the activities that you do in the farm on a daily basis. And so you have a platform to indicate each and everything that you've been doing in your farm so far. So fertilizer application is part of it. Scouting is also part of daily activities done in the farm. You have manual irrigation, you have pre-harvest, you have harvest and other. So for other, we do acknowledge that for other, we do acknowledge that the highlighted reports are not the only reports that are done in the farm. There are the other reports that you'd want to fill in that haven't been highlighted in the farm. So you have the other report to accommodate for that. So I think we can begin with fertilizers. Okay, so I think we'll just show you how the report looks like as we proceed through the other reports. So for fertilizer report, this is how the report looks like. And what you're required to fill in is the farm element's name. If you can remember, the farm element's name is more like the structure of the farm. Yes, greenhouse. And then immediately select the structure. It is going to give you the variety that is being grown in that structure. And then usually have this planting stages. So depending on the stage that you're on, you select in this section, and then after the planting stage, you select now the fertilizer that you are applying. Okay. After that, you have to indicate the quantity that you have applied for, and then method used, method of application. And then you can add any additional notes if applicable. If you don't have any, that's totally fine. And then you add. So once you indicate it, the report will be populated there for you. So just like we had done prior on inventory, fertilizers and agrochemicals are the same thing. So the exact report we had for fertilizer is the exact report you'll get for agrochemicals. So I think we can head over to scouting reports. Okay. So under scouting report is basically what exactly did you see while at the farm? So it can be positive, it can be negative, depending on the reality in your farm. So yeah, let's see the scouting reports. Okay, so the same thing we've done. We need to select the elements, which is the structure, and then the plant variety, and then the stage, and the date of scouting. So if you had done this prior, you can definitely backtrack, and you have the option to give a brief description. So probably you'll notice that the fruiting has begun. Okay. And then for scouting, there's an option for you to attach images just for extra support of proof of what you actually saw in the farm. And you can attach any notes if it's applicable, and then you add that report. Okay. So after scouting report, we have the manual irrigation. I think manual irrigation is quite self-explanatory. Since it's the what's the amount of water you had irrigated for. So let's head over to the reports. So under scouting reports, manual irrigation reports. So on the report itself, when you're creating the report, it's the same step as we have done the others. So you have to select the farm elements. You select the variety, the planting stage, the date of irrigation, time you had irrigated, the time you had done the irrigation, the duration you irrigated for, and also the quantity of water you had irrigated. And lastly, you attach any notes if applicable. If there's any notes that you'd love to include, you can attach it, and then you add that report. Okay. So the next thing we have to tackle is the pre-harvest report. So under pre-harvest report, it's a bit unique compared to the other reports, since you have a checklist just to help yourself gauge if you're ready for harvesting or there are any correctional measures you need to take. So this is how the pre-harvest report looks like. So same thing we've been doing with the other reports. You have to indicate which is the structure you are applying the report, and then you select the variety, the stage that you're in, the dates, and then now there's this checklist. Now, depending on what is going on in your farm, you will tick the various boxes, either no or yes, depending on what is the reality at your farm. And now you have also at the bottom of the screen, you have option, you have notes if applicable. If there is none, it's totally fine, and then you add the reports. Okay. And lastly, we have the harvest reports. Okay. So under harvest report, now this is the last report since you finished farming and planting rather, and now you are harvesting what you've done through the entire planting season. So this for this report, it's the same thing we've been doing as the others. You have to select this element, which is the structure. After that, the variety, the stage that you're in. In this case, you're at harvesting stage. The date and the time. So under harvest, you usually have various options, either high quality harvest, low quality harvest, or harvest lost in transit. We do understand that not every crop will fall under this category, but if you just have high quality harvest and that's what acceptable in the market, that's totally fine. You don't have to fill in all the other options if all your produce was high quality. So we can go with 500 kgs. And then you can also attach extra notes if applicable, probably harvest for the first season. Okay, perfect. And then we add. Okay, so that sums up the daily work report. So I think we can cover the other report lastly, just to show you how the report looks like. Okay, so under other reports, so this one is a bit different since you have to select the name of the report that you're doing, the element, the plant variety, you give a description of what you're doing, and then you can upload images if optional. So it's just basically the exact same things you've been doing. The only difference is for this one, you will be giving it a name. Yes. So that's basically it when it comes to the daily work report. I think we can leave room for any questions before we can cover products and services, and I think weather and satellite, and then I can leave some to cover the accounting features. Okay, so if everyone is okay, kindly just share a thumbs up. Okay, perfect. So I think we can head over to products and services. Okay, so under products and services, basically products and services is anything that generates income in your farm. So may it be, so first of all, as you can see, um, anytime we generate a harvest report, it will all automatically generate under products and services since the system assumes that once you get your produce, you're going to sell it and that's a source of income in your farm. But that's not only, other than harvest, any other thing that generates income in your farm. If you sell your services, if you're a part-time agronomist and people buy your services, that's income to your farm. If you have farm equipment that you give to other farmers or you lease them out and they pay you for that, that's still income. So anything that generates income in your farm, this is the section where you will indicate it. So yeah, I don't know if there's any questions around products and services. Maybe we can show you how to add how the it looks like. So this is how it looks like. You just give it a name. You select if it's an asset, service, or product. Yes. And then you select the unit of measurements, like how much are you charging for someone to use your tractor? And then you can give a brief description or yeah, of maybe depending on what is yeah, give a brief description about that specific product. Okay, and then you add. So that's just it when it comes to products and services. It's just inventory of everything that generates income in your farm. That's why I'd skipped it since it's tied to one of the daily work reports. So yeah, I think after that we can proceed to weather and satellite. Okay, okay, so under weather and satellite, so what usually happens in this section is that it gives you real time and historical data about weather and satellite. And I think for weather is very self-explanatory. You get the weather forecast, and for satellite, it helps you monitor how healthy your crops are doing with the help of indices. So firstly, you'll need to plot a farm boundary. After you plotted a farm boundary, this is what you'll get as illustrated. You'll get that purple-like figure indicating that you have successfully plotted your farm boundary. As you can see at the top of your screen where you have the weather information, you'll get the maximum and minimum temperature and precipitation level. Also on the right side corner, you get the total area of what you have plotted. So you can help, this can also help you see if you've actually plotted well or you've missed out. And you have the soil data. So you'll get temperature at the top of the soil, temperature 10 centimeters deep, and the soil moisture levels. And then after that, now for weather, you get three forecasts. That's daily, that's hourly, daily, and forecast, and historical weather data. So, and for daily data, you can get up to 5 days ahead, and historical data, you can backtrack up to 1 year. So what happens? You just filter out where you have the from and to. You just filter out the specific dates you'd love to monitor the weather, and you'll get the weather information. Yeah. So once you filter out, you will get the weather information for those specific days that you had requested to see. Yeah. So and remember, for historical data, you can backtrack up to 1 year back. Okay, so we can head over to satellite data. So what satellite data does is it helps you monitor how healthy your crops are doing with the help of indices. And we have a number of indices indicated. So I think I'll just walk you briefly through the various indices. We can begin with NDVI. So NDVI stands for Normalized Difference Vegetation Index. And what it does, it measures the amount of green vegetation in an area. And for this one to evaluate, if you have enough green vegetation in an area, high values usually range from 0.6 to 1, and low values usually range from 0 to 0.2, and that's under NDVI. I think next we can cover NRI. So NRI, what it does is that it evaluates plant health by comparing how light reflects in different wavelengths. But in simpler terms, it excuse me, it estimates the nitrogen contents in plants as well. So for this one, high values is any figures above 0.5, and low values are figures below 0.3. So I think for the next index, we can cover EVI. So EVI stands for Enhanced Vegetation Index. So it's similar to NDVI, but it's better suited for area with dense vegetation. So if you want to know if your area has dense vegetation, to evaluate it, high values usually range from 0.5 to 1, and low values 0.2 to 0.5. Okay, so after EVI, we have EVI2. We have EVI2. So EVI2 stands for Enhanced Vegetation Index 2. So it's a simplified version of EVI, but it's ideal for area where the satellite data is quite less comprehensive. And for this one, dense vegetation usually range from 0.5 to 1, and low values usually range from 0.2 to 0.5. I think the next one we can cover is the NDVI. Sorry, NDWI. So under NDWI, this stands for Normalized Difference Water Index. So what it does is that it measures the water content in plants and in soil. So high values usually range from 0.3 to 0.8 or 1, and low values are any values below 0.3. And lastly, which is DSWI, which stands for Dry Soil Water Index. So this is more like the opposite of NDWI. So this one measures soil moisture levels by analyzing how lights reflect. So for DSWI, high values are above 0.5. And for this one, if the values are high, it's an indication that water is not enough in the soil and in the plant. And low values are usually 0.3, sorry, 0.3 and below. And that's an indication that there is enough water in the soil. So it's the opposite of NDWI. So remember, NDVI, EVI, EVI2, NRI, the higher the value, the indication of a healthier crop. DSWI, higher values suggest drought, lower values suggest enough water content. And NDWI, higher values suggest enough water content. Yeah, so I think that sums up the weather and satellite. Unless there's any questions, please feel free to ask, and then we can head over to the next feature. Okay, perfect. So if there's no question, I think I can give Sam the meeting to the accounting features. Thank you.
Hi everyone. So once again, it's me, Sam. So let's proceed to the accounting bit. So just to highlight, in accounting, we have income and we have expenses. Income is where you record the money that you have been given by your buyers or people whom you have made transaction with. And expenses, you record the expense that you have incurred inside your farm. They may be farm specific expense or a general element expenses. So here I'll start with let me start with income, then we'll go back to expenses, and then afterwards I'll show you buyers and the other features. So for income, we have invoices and we also have payments. Invoices, we list all the invoices that you have in your farm, and for payments, it lists all the payments that have gone in your invoices. So let's say for an example, I have this invoice, So if I receive a payment for this particular invoice here, the payment will be recorded here. So let me show you how you go through the process of creating an invoice and also the process of also receiving payment. So for to begin with, you press there, you add an invoice. Here we have the invoice information. You can choose to leave it blank so that the system can auto-generate it for you, or you can have your own predefined number of how you want to number your invoices, so you can record the number over here. For me, I'll choose to leave it blank. Then for date issued, it's the date you issued that invoice to a specific buyer whom you have made transaction with. Let's say the date is today, and the due date is the day you expect the invoice to be fully paid. Let's say on a Monday. Then for billing information, you have to select the buyer whom you want to bill this invoice to. So here we can say this is our buyer. As you have seen, we have a custom checkbox which shows that if this buyer, has a custom billing and shipping address, you tick this checkbox, and then you have to enter the billing address and the shipping address. But if the billing address and the shipping address of the buyer is the same, then it's the same as the time you recorded the buyer, then you don't have to check this checkbox. So for me, I will uncheck the box, and then we can proceed. Here we have invoice items. Invoice items are the products that you want to list inside your invoice so that you can calculate the invoice total, and then you can bill that invoice. So here we can select a product that you want to bill this buyer. Let's see, you can say this one, high quality harvest. Then quantity is the quantity we want to, the quantity the buyer has got. Say 100. Unit price is the unit price for one quantity. So for us, we have 100. So the unit price will be, say, 100 still. But you note that our price, our currency is in Kenya shillings. Then we add tax. That is if this product is applicable to tax rather. After we add tax, then the amount here has been calculated from the unit price multiplied by the quantity price. Since the unit price is for one unit is for one quantity and we have 100, so you get the amount of this product record over here. So if you want to add more products, you can click this button, and then you can be able to add more products. Say this primary harvest one, say 100 still, this one say still for tax, then that's it. Here we have our payment details. So these payment details we record the method of payment that we will receive the payment from the buyer. You can say cash, or if we have other payment method that we would like to record into the system, you press this button to add our payment method. So for payment method, you have to choose between mobile, cash, bank transfer, check. So let me say for mobile, then I'll say pay bill or till. Say till. Then till I'll say it's this number. You have to be very careful. Then if I want the payment method to be saved for future use, I toggle this. Or if I don't want, I keep it off. Then I'll toggle it to on. Then afterwards, I'll add. So you can see my payment details has been updated, mobile money, and this is the till number. Then the notes, I can record some few notes detailing this invoice. It's an invoice for our buyer. You can say who is our buyer. It's this buyer. So after you've done that, we come to this other part, the subtotal part. Here we have discount, we have our include shipping button, our tax breakdown, and our total. So for discount is if we want to give the buyer a discount, you can add the discount here. You can record the discount as a percentage or maybe a cash. That is if whichever way you feel. Then we have this checkbox over here again. If we want to include shipping fee for the goods that we want to deliver to the buyer, we can check the box. But if we do not want to include the shipping fee, we leave the box as it is. Then the tax breakdown, we have 16% VAT tax, which is times 2. So we get this amount here. And also the total is 11,716. After you have confirmed that your invoice is okay, everything is okay, then you can go back and now you can save the invoice. And now, as you can see, we have our buyer, our invoice number is automatically generated, and then you have the due date of our invoice, which is in 2 days, the invoice amount. This is the status of our invoice, whether it has been paid or the amount that has been paid rather. Then the remaining amount, status, and actions. So here you see we haven't paid anything, so our remaining amount is the full amount. Then the status is issued. If you want to view the invoice, you can view the invoice. So you see this is the invoice, how it will appear after you have invoiced the buyer. You have the buyer information, the invoice number, the date it has been issued, the due date, the bill to. Then the product items, the one that we have filled in just some few seconds ago. Then if you scroll down, you'll see the payment details here, the invoice notes, and our logo to verify that this invoice is authentic. Then we can choose to download the invoice if we wish to keep a physical record of the invoice, or then if we don't, the system will keep it for you, and then you can choose to close. So afterwards, you can go and receive payments so that you can see how the
Uh,
status of the
uh,
invoice changes. And
so Sam, before you proceed, there was a question asking if the currency can be customized.
oh, okay, okay, I didn't see the question. Yes, yes. The currency is customized at the time where you create your farm. You can choose to enter your farm currency, and also at the time where you are adding the buyer to your farm, you can also choose the currency that the buyer uses. So maybe if you are in Kenya and you use Kenya shillings, and in let's say the buyer is in United States, and the buyer uses USD dollars. So you can record the buyer's currency as USD, and also the farm currency will remain as Kenya shillings. So how we convert this: when we save the invoice, the amount is converted. This US dollars is converted back to the amount that was to the currency that was registered at the time you are creating your farm. So you don't have to worry about the manual conversion of your currency back to the farm's currency. You just have, when you are creating your farm, you record the currency as the default one, and then all the buyers with their currency, you can add them, and the money will be converted to you automatically. Okay, so let's proceed. Let's receive the payment. Select our buyer. This is our buyer. Our payment method was mobile money. Then the payment receipt date. This is say today. The amount received, can say 5,000. So then here we can choose this invoice. So the reason you're seeing many invoices is because this buyer has many invoices that they need to settle with our firm. So when you want to receive payment, you have to check this box, so that this means that this is the invoice that I want to receive the payment for. Then you can select the amount that you have received, which is 5,000. Then afterwards, you reference number, which this one is again is optional. The system will generate it for you. And then the notes, you can say payment for invoice 61, 65, 188. Say invoice. Then attachments, you can drop some files here to support that the payment has been made. So maybe you can support with receipts if you want to support it. Then here, oh, I have to select 5,000. 5,000. So here we have the total invoice payment is 5,000, and then the amount to credit is the amount that goes back to the buyer's account is null, because we have consumed all of it. Then you can save. So as you can see, this is one was our invoice. It's still due in 2 days, but this is what I wanted us to see. We have paid 5,000. Now the remaining is 6,000, and that 716. Now our status has changed to partially paid. So if you come back to our payments, you can see that this is the payment date that we, and the reference number of the receipt, and the payment amount is 5,000, the payment method and status, which is applied because that payment is applied to an invoice. So if you want to view the invoice, I've shown you how to view the invoice. Also, we have other actions for editing the invoice, voiding the invoice, and deleting the invoice. Once you void an invoice, the all the amounts and all the products will be nullified, and then the invoice will be null and void. So you won't be able to see to make any transaction or track price changes through that invoice. You can also choose to edit the invoice if you realize later on that there's something that you need to adjust, or you made a mistake, because everyone is human and also make mistakes. So you can be able to edit the invoice. Then before now I walk you through the expenses. Let me know if you have any more questions so that I can answer them and clarify anything, and then you can move to expenses. If everything is okay, you can give me a thumbs up. All right. Okay, so let's proceed. For expenses, we have total expense, general expense, and from element expenses. Total expense are general expense and element specific expenses combined. Then for general expenses, these are expenses that are like electricity, those kinds of expenses that are not farm specific or element specific. They're in your farm, but they're not element specific. Remember, when Stacy was presenting, we created a farm element. So any expense that you incur in that farm element will be termed as farm element expense, and any expense that is not tied to any farm element is a general expense. So here you have the category, the expense type, the date incurred, the ration, the vendor, the amount, payment method, and the status of the expense. I will walk you through the status of the expense so you can see how you approve and all that. So let me show you how to add an expense. It's pretty easy. So here, as I said, you have two types, the general expense and element specific expense. So general expense, they apply to the entire farm and are not specific to any particular farm. So let me first do element specific expense. Then afterwards, we can take you through general expense. Then for here, you have to select the category of the category. You can say seedlings, element name. You can say this one. Test. We have greenhouse 3. Then select our variety, the supplier, the editing card, the cost. The cost is 1,000. Payment method, say M-Pesa. You can choose a supporting document here, which is either a receipt or anything you choose to solidify that this expense was indeed incurred. And then the description. You can say for seeds for greenhouse 3. Then afterwards, you can add it. So you can see this is our category, the element type that we have added. And now that you can see that we have status is pending because this element there has no this expense has not yet been approved. So as you as a farm owner, the owner of the farm, you can choose to approve this expense or you can choose to reject this expense. Once you approve this expense, it is counted as an expense. If you reject, it is not counted. So here you can approve the expense. Then once we have approved, you can see that farm element expenses they have increased from the previous 1,000 to 2,000, and you can see the total has also increased. So again, we have some actions you can take against the expenses, which is you can edit the expense or you can delete the expense. This is according to how best you see fit, or any if you deem there's any change that needs to be done in your expense. If you recorded the wrong narration or you had the wrong vendor, anything you want to do, you can do it. So again, let me take you now back to general expense. So, general expense. So for general expense, I'll have say electricity charges, then the supplier, I can say other, then the dating card, the cost again, you can say let's say 2,000, payment method, say bank transfer. Then here again for receipt, you it is recommended that you upload, but if at the time of recording the expense you had not yet received the receipt, then it's okay. Then you can say expenses for electricity. Okay, then you can add. So That is how you record your expenses. Again, you need to approve this expense so that it can be counted inside your form. Alright. So let me know if there is question that you want me to clarify something, questions you want me to answer, something you'd like me to repeat. I'm here for you. Then we can continue to buyer section and then to form start. If everything is okay or you don't have any question, kindly give me a thumbs up so that we can proceed. All right. Okay, so let's proceed to the buyers part. Give me a minute, just 1 minute. Okay, so let's proceed. So for buyers, as we saw at the time of invoice creation, you have buyers in your system or buyers whom you want to make transaction with. So here we have the button to add buyers, and also this is the buyer interface. For the buyer interface, you have the company name, the email address. It lists all the buyer information that you have recorded in your form. So let me take you through the process of adding a new buyer into your form. Then afterwards, we can see how okay, we can walk have a walkthrough of the accounting bit so that it can show you how they all connect again. So here we can add our buyer. Then for buyer, as you can remember, I was telling you about the currency of the buyer. So after you have created your form and had entered your currency, the other part you will need to enter the currency is the buyer's currency. So here you enter the buyer's currency. Let me check the currency to US dollars. Then first name of the buyer is optional, and also last name is optional. What is not optional is the company name, because you can say the buyer who is working on behalf of the company, so you have to enter the company name. But if the buyer is not working on behalf of the company, then you can have the buyer's name here. Then the company name, you have to fill the company name of the buyer as the buyer's name. Then here is the email address, the buyer, then the phone number of the buyer. Okay, so if the buyer has a contact for fax, you can enter it. If the buyer has a website, you can enter the website. This is a demo website. Then after you have confirmed the name and contact details are okay, we then move to billing address. So for billing address, here we have street address 1 and street address 2, and also the country, the city, and the postal code. We also have a small checkbox which shows that if the shipping address is the same as billing, then the checkbox is checked. If the shipping address is not the same, now you can uncheck this box and you'll have to manually fill in the shipping address. So for our case, let us assume that this shipping address is the same as the billing address. Then you can proceed to fill in the address of the buyer. You can say then the country, whichever country. It said Japan, a city in Japan. Let me change it to a city right now. Then afterwards you have the postal code. After you have confirmed again that everything is okay here for billing address, you go to notes and attachments. So notes and attachments is anything you'd like to identify the buyer with. So you can say uh, you can write just anything, notes for my buyer, and also attachments. You can upload any attachments, including identification, anything. And then for payment terms, you have the invoice period. This is the agreeable period between when you invoice the buyer and the time that the buyer is supposed to fully settle the invoice. Then you can say some few days, like 3 days. Then the payment method is bank transfer. Then you can add. Oh, let us remove it. So after we have added our buyer, you can see that this is the buyer we added. This is the email address, the phone number, and the pending balance of the buyer. So pending balance is calculated from the invoice that the buyer has been issued. So if the buyer has settled up the invoice, you can see that the pending balance is zero. If the buyer has not settled the invoice, the pending balance will be the remaining invoice balance. Then if you want to see now the buyer information, you can click on this particular buyer over here. Then you can see the buyer information. This is the total amount paid, the pending amount, the overdue, the total invoice. Then here we have invoices. With this buyer currently, we don't have any invoices associated with them. And also, you can look an overview of the buyer information, which is this. There are no attachments. Everything is okay. So now when you choose to make transactions with this buyer, that is when you see that uh, the pending balance has been updated, and also the invoices for the buyer, they have been updated. So let me check, click one of the buyers. You can see, so here you see this buyer has paid a total of 11,101,000, and this is the pending amount, overdue amount, and they have a total of four invoices. Then you can see the invoices bit. This is the invoices bit of this particular buyer. You can see the remaining amount. And if we go back to the buyer summary page, you'll see that this buyer has a pending balance. Then the buyer is still active. You can choose to archive the buyer. If you archive the buyer, this buyer status will change from active to inactive. So you see the buyer has now been archived. So is there any question from the buyer's uh, information page that we have gone through, or maybe accounting, or anywhere else that you'd like me to clarify before we move on to the last bit, which is farm stuff? Then for farm stuff, we can now close the webinar. If you don't have any question, let me see a thumbs up. there any more question? Right, all right. Okay, so let's proceed to the farm stuff. Then we can conclude our webinar, and I'll be able to answer any question. I've been answering some few questions, so we can proceed with the question part, and then I can answer them, and we can end our webinar for today. So for here, for farm stuff, let's say you have other workers you want to invite into your farm. This is the place where you invite your users to work in your farm. And to work in your farm, in this perspective, I mean, to manage your account for you. Maybe you might have traveled or you're not around, so you have to invite people into your farm so that they can do your daily activities for you. So if you want to invite someone, you come here to farm stuff. You press on invited users, and then you invite staff over here, this button. Then you have to type in their email address, and then their their role, so you can invite them as either from worker or from manager. From worker and from manager, they have different roles in the system, so it is up to you to know what kind of role that you want to assign you are the person you're inviting, so that they can be able to see specific parts, and they can be able to perform specific actions. So if I want to invite my staff as a farm worker, send the invite. So after I have invited the user, they will see the invite in the email address, the one that you have provided. Afterwards, then, after they have accepted the invites, you will see that your active users, they will increase here. That is all about farm stuff, accounting, and buyers. But if you have questions, kindly let me know so that I can answer them. And then we can mark the end of our webinar today. Feel free to ask your questions. I'm waiting for questions. But if let's give those questions 5 minutes. So by 4:15, if no one has a question, then we will unanimously end the webinar, and then we can go back to our farms. Or if you want to share your insights about FarmCloud, you have this small window, then you can share with other people how insightful FarmCloud has been to you, and then we can also share our achievements, and we can conclude our monthly webinar. Okay, so I have a question here. Please expound. Please expound on what farm worker, farm manager can access on the system. Okay, so let me explain it for you. So for farm worker has all permissions on reports. They can create reports. They can edit. You see the bits that we have been doing during in our presentation, and also The farm worker also have all permissions on farm elements. Farm elements are greenhouses, screenhouses, shade nets, and open field. They can create them. Also, we have the farm worker. They also have all permissions on farm inventory properties, that is, fertilizer and agrochemical records. And also, they have all permission on products and services. Uh, Stacy demonstrated that. And also weather and satellite, they can plot. That means that they can plot and they can do all activities in weather and satellite. And they also have all permission on invoice and payments, the ones that I've shown you how to create an invoice, how to receive a payment, and also permission on buyers, that is editing a buyer, creating a buyer, and also they can edit and create expenses, that is for farm worker. So in summary, a farm worker has all permission on reports, all permission on farm elements, all permissions in farm inventory properties, that is, again, fertilizer and agrochemical records, all permissions also on products and services functionalities, and weather and satellite, invoices, that is, accounting bits, and the buyer's part. So for farm manager, we have all the permissions that a farm worker has, but a farm manager can view invited user, and the farm manager can resend invites. This is the last bit that I have shown you how to send invites, and you can also resend invites. Then a farm manager can deactivate a farm worker. So let's say you had hired someone to work in your farm for a given period of time, and that person, after that period, you need to deactivate them. If you have a farm worker, a farm manager, they can deactivate that for you as a farm owner if you are not around. And also, a farm manager can delete and approve expenses. So, in summary, again, a farm manager has all permissions on of farm worker, and they can view invited users, and they can resend invites. They can activate and deactivate farm workers, and they can delete and approve expenses. So for farm owner, that is the person who created the FarmCloud account, you have all permissions in farm worker and all permissions that farm manager have. And also you can update farm user roles. You can deactivate farm user, you can deactivate and activate farms, and you can delete your farms. So that is all the permissions for farm worker, farm manager, and I've also added a bonus for farm owner. So farm owner, you can do anything in your farm. Yeah. So if you let me know if you have understood or you have any more question. Okay, okay. Yes, I have. There's another question. On Money Matters, is the service cost found in the website? Yes, the service cost is found in the website. The website is, let me type it here below so you can see it. There, I have sent the website, the pricing part for FarmCloud. We also have FarmShield, but that is a topic for another day. So you can access all the pricing table and the pricing, the money matters in our website. Any more question?
And I think just to add on, since everyone who registered for the webinar, they're usually amazing discounts. So I'd really advise you take advantage of such opportunities. We will send out a reminder where we'll attach the discount code. So be out on the lookout for the discounts. Okay. So yeah, I don't know if there's any further questions. I think it's safe to conclude the webinar. Okay, if everyone is okay, I'd highly appreciate a thumbs up. Okay, perfect. On our end is just to thank everyone who participated, and we highly appreciate your productiveness during the meeting. And thank you so much. See you in the next webinar. Bye bye, and have an amazing weekend.